Project Sapient is a podcast meant to engage our brothers and sisters in the law enforcement and military communities and conversations that we all know we need to have. All opinions you hear are our own, are protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. They are no way reflect or are meant to reflect the opinion of any specific agency, officer, or service member. Some opinions may be controversial. Listener discretion is advised. Project Sapient. I decided to bring back the Western tune a little bit. So I know Dave likes it.
I love it. Love it.
So Project Sapient, y'all. So it's been busy. We've had quite a few things going on, and you guys all know it's quite the summer. And yeah, but you know, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all our supporters and sponsors, starting with our good friends, AAA Police Supply. If you are a law enforcement listener looking for one-stop shop for all your supplies and duty gear, you need to look no further. Head over to AAA Police Supply and make sure you enter the code HYBRID10 to get 10% off every single order you make. And that's not just a one-time code. That's, you do it all, drop it in anytime. And our next friends over at Havoc Journal, the voice of the veteran community, focusing on current affairs and articles of interest to the public in general, but really the veteran community and law enforcement specifically for independent news, basically everything that you want, geopolitics, science, tech, finance, contemporary affairs, entertainment, art, whatever. They're all there over at Havoc Journal, and you can probably read all my stuff on there too when you if you search me for all my articles. I think I've written close to 100 now. But yeah, actually, I want to dive right into it. And, one of our great supporters is 22 Mohawks. And who we have here today, if you remember, we had him on a long time ago, probably when we were still getting our feet together with podcasting. We got the founder of 22 Mohawks. We got Dave Campisano. What's up, Dave?
How are you, my friend?
It's been good. It's been good. So I wanted to bring you back on one to kind of talk about how the growth of 22 Mohawks, you guys, you've done such a fantastic job of, you and Stacey have done such a fantastic job of just really putting the message out for 22 Mohawks and what it's all about. And I think we met, 2019 maybe or something, when Tony, mutual friend Tony, had us meet up, and, you were still, I guess you were still not starting out, but still kind of developing,
the infancy stage.
Infancy stage of 22 Mohawks. And I mean, we are at the beautiful SCIF, in Massachusetts. SCIF, if you guys don't know, that's a military term, and Dave will explain that in a little bit about why we're calling it the SCIF. But it's a beautiful area, and it's a great spot to have, kind of like I call it the 22 Mohawks headquarters for everything that you and Stacy and everyone else that's part of 22 Mohawks, what they do. And so if you want to kind of go over some of the things that help you guys just grow.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's wild that you actually came to us and are in our building right now, because normally we take the trip to you. So I appreciate you coming down here. Yeah. I mean, God, it's been like 4 years. So it's been a massive grind, massive learning experience. And, we have our 3 programs, right? We give dogs, train them. We parachute out of planes, as you know, and we have mental health services and mental health suicide prevention training and crisis intervention training. Yeah. So it's been a massive growth mode up until about this point where we're kind of just like sitting on trying to grow our mental health piece.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we look forward to just continue to grind and help as many vets and first responders as we can. Yeah.
I mean, to date, how many dogs have you given to veterans?
We're sitting at about 140.
Okay.
140 dogs.
104. So in 4 years, 140 dogs. Wow. That's amazing. And they are not just veterans, first responders also. You've kind of branched out. You started hitting the first responder community too?
That's right. Yeah. So as of January 1 of 2024, we transitioned over to helping first responders as well. But obviously, there's a big need there.
Yeah.
And you guys are on the ground every single day, so it and it makes sense. And a lot of our first responders are vets too.
Yep.
So it makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean that's quite the number. 140. That's 140 that wins. That you would call them where, most of the veterans that came in struggling with whatever that they have going on, whatever demons are fighting, and, giving them that sense of purpose, that new purpose of having a companion and having a dog with them.
Yeah.
You could literally, I've come to a couple of the times where you've handed the dog over and you could see kind of like that life in the veteran's eyes kind of come back, like, oh, this is awesome. Just something sparks in them.
Yeah. It's always a big deal to see that happen every single time and never change. It's heartwarming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like some of the other programs that you put together, I know you said you were talking about the veteran suicide education piece.
Yeah.
When did that start?
So last year we sent 5 people to Question, Persuade, Refer instructor course, where they become trained to teach suicide prevention. So we sent 5 people there, and then we sent another 5 to the CISM course, so Crisis Intervention Stress Management. Mm-hmm. So every year we're going to try to send 20 people to each course, and each person is going to be required to teach at least 1 class per year.
Nice.
And that will kind of educate the local communities on suicide prevention. And we think that that's kind of a no-brainer for our organization, right? Get out in the public, educate, and just bring people together.
That's awesome. I mean, so are they going out to like VFWs and stuff like that?
Yeah. So last year we actually taught a couple 911 dispatcher building locations in Massachusetts. We taught a few drug facilities, basically people who, go there for inpatient and outpatient services. We went there and taught the staff there. Mm-hmm. Safe Coalition, actually, in Franklin.
Okay.
And some schools. And then we taught at some of the local, the recruiting, USAREC. We taught USAREC.
Okay.
Suicide prevention. Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. And have any of them kind of brought back to you any sort of information or any like feedback?
Yeah, it was interesting to teach at the reserve units and at USAREC recruiting, right? Because it's like active duty and AGR people.
Yeah.
And I remember teaching suicide prevention on active duty. It was like you had your ACE card and it was death by PowerPoint. What the hell is this shit?
Yeah.
But like we went in there, we told stories, we followed the methods of QPR. And after they came right up to us and they were like, hey, we want to invite you back because everyone's saying that this was like the best course that they've had, right? It's not like death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
We're actually telling stories of things that have taken place. And I think that's kind of a big value add.
So I think, I mean, the death by PowerPoint when you and I were both in the Army, it really destroyed any sort of training any sort of message, especially when it comes to suicide prevention and stuff like that. Any sort of message that was going to get put out really got lost in the PowerPoint because you're tired, you're like, dude, really? You got to sit through 100 slides of whatever. And I think, one thing that always misses the mark with these types of trainings is that human connection.
That's right.
And I think that's what is always needed, especially with these types of conversations, because you can't really do suicide prevention by just looking at a screen.
Right.
I think sharing stories and actual like testimonies, suicide survivors, we'll call them, that almost did it and decided not to for whatever reason, I think impacts people so much more.
Big time.
Than just, looking at a PowerPoint. And you said the schism. So are they both doing similar things or are they 2 different?
So it's basically right now we have 10 people starting tomorrow.
Okay.
They all just certified in QPR this week.
Okay.
So we all got all their certifications this week in QPR. So they're all instructors now.
Okay.
And tomorrow CISM starts. So CISM, Crisis Intervention Stress Management. They start tomorrow. It's a 3-day, 8 to 5 course.
Yep.
And they learn individual and group crisis intervention. Basically, you're probably familiar with it just by trade.
Yeah.
You go places, a crisis just happened. You get the group together and kind of like hash it out, talk about things and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're trying to have a therapy dog join the team. So we're going to get a therapy dog trainer to go. So like if it happens locally, we can send our people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's been happening in the first responder. A lot of therapy dogs are starting to be kind of like part of a police department. We're starting to see more and more. I know Rentham has one, Walpole has one. I think Franklin, maybe. Yeah. I know several departments around us.
Stacy and I just went to Jersey last week. We have 3 dogs in 3 departments down there, and they're the town's therapy dog for the police department.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah,
Jersey's been taking advantage of our programs, which is really good.
That's awesome. Actually, it reminds me. So I had on the podcast a while back, Janine Baguette. She's down in Texas and she trains therapy dogs. She was a cop, retired canine cop, all that good stuff. She did a bunch of high speed things. But an interesting thing she does is she trains therapy dogs to go to scenes of crisis for police officers. A little different.
Interesting.
It's different. And it's really interesting to hear her talk about it, where let's say it was right after a shooting or something, and she'll bring the therapy dog over, and the therapy dog will just do its thing with the cops and with the SWAT guys and whoever, and it's really interesting program that she has down there. Actually, now that I think about it, I'll connect you.
It's really cool.
See how
it's needed.
Yeah. And it's just interesting how the dog, man's best friend, right, kind of really hits home for a lot of us, that connection with the dog. And we'll talk about kind of some of the other events that you've had over the past 4 years that kind of, again, helped with this growth of 22 Mohawks.
Yep. Yeah. So, gosh, when me and you first met, Tony connected us, and you came to a couple of our coffee nights, and then I think it was after the DAV 5K.
Yep.
We went to Conrad's in Walpole.
Yep.
And you're like, hey man, I want to talk to you about something. So we went over and sat. You're like, hey, this is my friend Dave Kraz. He's got a connection with X35 Airborne School.
Yep.
Would you want to do static line? And I'm like, I definitely would do static line because we have our tandems.
Yeah.
Right. It'd been our second year doing tandems, which is cool. Right.
Yep. Yep.
And I was like, I would definitely entertain that. So you connected us with Kraz. We had a bunch of meetings. Then we connected with Graham Jones, who's the senior guy at X35.
Yep.
And then before you know it, there was 10 of us flying to Denellen, Florida to do static line Airborne School again.
Yeah.
And that was a massive inflection point for the organization because it allowed us to see the effects of parachuting and adrenaline with these guys that have been out for so long and disconnected from service and bringing them together, community, diving out of an aircraft, hitting the ground and being like, wow, that was awesome. And then everyone's like connecting and the adrenaline rush just like opened everybody up. And I was like, we got to do this again.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on our fifth rotation in October.
Yeah.
And, we've toyed with kind of the number. The first one we did with you, Airborne, Operation Airborne for Vets, we had 10 jumpers.
Yep.
Then we've gone to 15. We had 2 15s, then we had 20, and the 20 was it was out of control. So we're trying to figure out like a good number where we can, really control it. But we're sitting probably at about 12 or 15 to go on the next one.
Yeah, that's awesome. And even, thinking back to that first one when we went down there and we were still trying to figure out how to make it work. And it was really cool to see, one, X35 is awesome. They were so welcoming to the idea. I mean, I can't say that enough.
Let me tell you, man, Graham, he gets it.
Yeah.
Graham gets it. One of our guys last class, he jumped 3 times and he had just had enough.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to jump anymore. And he goes up to Graham and he says, am I a pussy because I'm not jumping the 5 jumps? And Graham goes, are you shitting me? You jumped 3 times. Most people don't even jump once.
Yeah, exactly.
And the kid told me that story. I say kid, but he's a grown man.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's like, Graham said that and said, he's like, you can always come back and jump whenever you want. And I remember just talking to Graham, like, Graham, we're here to help vets.
Yeah.
Right. Like, obviously the Airborne School is like a lot of fun and we want to do it. But the fact that you weren't kicking this kid in the ass, being like, get out the bird, really meant a lot to me in the organization. Like, hey, you got our guys back. Like, you're not trying to stress this kid out. Right. Who knows why he's down here? I remember, so our jump, when you and I went down there, we had 2 guys who had lost their 2 best friends the same week.
Yeah.
Yep. We had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So like none of us know what anyone's going through. And we don't probe them. If they want to tell us, they tell us.
No, that's the thing. And I find that, like you said, with the adrenaline and all of us really connecting that way, they open up a lot more because they told us while we were down there. Right. I mean, like maybe it was day 3 or 4 is when they actually told us. And we're like, oh shit. Because that was, I think day 4 is when we do the dedication jumps for, our friends that committed suicide and we would write their names on, names on the helmets, put it right on there. And that's where they told us like, and again, we didn't probe nothing. We just said, if you want to honor somebody for this jump, please, here's some tape, write their name, stick it on your helmet, do it. And they just opened up, man. Yeah. And it was awesome.
It was. It's such a good program that we have going here. I mean, it's not going anywhere. I think we have like 150. This is the most jumpers we've ever had. We have 150 names
on standby
that we have to pull.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, it's insane.
See, that's what I love is like watching something like that grow from the ground up, right?
Dude,
kind of like
insane.
Watching 22 Mohawks, like, you and Stacey started and watching it grow.
You came into my living room at my house, my condo, and we were calling the names.
Our first name calling. Yeah, that was actually, living room. That's right. I still got that video. Yeah, I mean, but again, though, that shows you the growth and the need of this type of service for our service members, for our law enforcement, for our firefighters, for our first responders. And, with that said, again, like Stacy was funny. She said, I mean, sometimes you disappear and then you come back and kind of give us some awesome stuff to do. So I'm like, well, that's, that's just what I do. I just I like working behind the scenes because it really helps the organization grow. And also having other outside the box thinkers such as yourself, like, is there just one way of doing this? And you're like, no, there's all kinds of ways,
Yep. Dude, you know what's funny is you actually also connected us with Corey Schaefer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Corey,
that's right.
So Corey is doing another T-shirt for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's going to do the second round of T-shirts for us. And he's also referred a couple of people who've got dogs from us across the country.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I mean, you're like one of those people who are like, this is going to sound funny because you have a podcast, but like, you're like completely quiet. And then when you speak, it's like, listen to what this guy's saying. This is going to change something.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I see a need and then I will help. And like you said, I'm not like, I have a podcast, so it makes me talk a lot, but it's also, I found different outlets, right, to deal with stuff, and we all do. And for those who don't know, Corey Schaefer, so it's funny. So during our first Airborne for vets, quick backstory, one night while drinking whiskey, I decided, because we were trying to raise funds and whatever, because we literally had 2 months to raise money, and I'm like, oh shit, all right. Now this is where we hit the ground running. And that night, I think I sent, 50 emails out to any organization I can think of. And one of them was Till Valhalla. And by the way, we got some enormous funding for that, which was awesome, which we thank all the sponsors.
Definitely,
I mean, they helped us a lot.
Doubling our vets.
Yeah, and so, doubling our vet. And so when I sent an email and I get the email back, a couple of dadays later, and I call him, hey, Silva just emailed me back and they want to meet us. And apparently the founder, Corey Schaefer, wants to meet us and let's go, So, I mean, he took his Sunday off. He came down and opened up the warehouse for us. And, he walked us around and we talked, and I'm really glad that he's still, loves the program. Obviously, that was one of the T-shirts. I mean, I have it. The first one he made was the canine one.
Canine one, yeah.
And I still have that. And it's so cool to see, again, that sort of networking, where that's one thing I love about the veteran community is how we elevate each other, right? No matter what. Yep. He saw that, we were still brand new, 22 Mohawks, still new, still up and coming. And he just opened up for us, right? Just told us his story, told us his why, and what caused him to create the plaques. And it's really moving. It's kind of like, similar with you when starting 22 Mohawks, you had a couple of your personal friends that committed suicide and you found a mission and you went with it. And that's the whole thing with guys like us who we were talking, I think the other day, is like, when we have a task, we execute.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, this is what we need and this is what needs to be done, and we just go. And it's a testament to show, again, how much 22 Mohawks has grown with that kind of drive, right? Because it just doesn't happen working 9 to 5. You and I both know that. It's like a constant, your phone's ringing, middle of the night, in the morning, whenever, and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And what, let me ask you this, what continues to drive you?
Just knowing that, there's people out there just like us that, need us, right? Yeah. I mean, just watching this thing take off and grow and do good for the communities is, you can't really put a price on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like watching people when people really, like you're in your uniform, people are like, oh, thank you for your service. But like here it's different when a grown man shakes your hand and he's like, thank you.
Yeah.
And actually know that they mean it for helping them out. And we're happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we can.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it is. It's just, you're right. I mean, that's something, that drive that you have, is more of helping fellow vets.
Right.
And that's all it is. Yep. It's not this like big, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like the side gig that you want to do to like, whatever, like this is your passion project. This is like what you devote your time to, and yes, we both have full-time jobs and we all do other things, but in the end, we always come back to the community to help out.
Yeah.
That's for me, like, veteran law enforcement, like whatever, like I will drop what I'm doing to help out.
Right. I remember when I first decided to kind of put this together and I lost John Hatfield, and I remember like the guilt of losing John, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I don't ever want anyone else to, one, die by suicide, but two, feel the guilt of not being there for your buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can be there, if you can answer your phone, do it, because I'm going to tell you, over the course of the 4 years, my phone's rang and I didn't answer it and someone's died, man. It fucking happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 20 years of war, suicide's a product of 20 years of war.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better because, I mean, now you want to think about politically, right? Not to get into politics, but the way actually, you know, what was the result of the Airborne for Vets is because the fall of Afghanistan, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
Like, I remember I was on vacation in Key West. Everybody started calling me. My phone blew up. You even told me when I called you. And
we were on the phone, dude.
Yeah,
we were
on
like,
the phone.
Holy shit, dude, the phone won't stop ringing, man.
Yeah, like we need to do something. And then that's when I connected with Dave. I'm like, Dave, can you, that's when that whole thing was born, is based out of what happened in Afghanistan. And every single one of us felt the same thing, right? Every single one of us felt that betrayal, by our freaking politicians to abandon our allies. And then 20 years of war for what? Great to have an exit strategy, but not that kind of exit strategy, totally. Right? That was total abandonment, and it brought back a lot of bad feelings during that time frame, and that's where I was like, we need to jump out of planes, Dave. Let's just go,
yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
get the frustration out somehow,
yep.
And I think that was probably one of the best things it's still the best thing that we've put together.
It's a core program. Here.
It's
like our core program.
Yeah, and kind of, I want to go over a couple of future programs that we're working on. So there's nothing set in stone, but I figured it'd be a good venue to announce it right now. So in my own way of just seeking shit out, I found this Deep End Fitness in San Diego, and which was founded by two Marine Raiders. And I actually had on my podcast, Laura Gordon, who is one of the head coaches there, total awesome coach. But I started to think, I'm like, you know what? This might be a good collaboration to do, because what they do is they basically force you to feel those physiological changes of being uncomfortable and teaching you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. So when you're carrying kettlebells underwater and you don't have enough air and your body's starting to do weird things, well, yeah, you're supposed to feel those things. It's not unnatural. So they teach you that, it's natural to feel this way. Yeah. So that's one thing that we're working on. And again, Dave, being outside the box like me, was like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about that is, like, you think about all this, like these ketamine things and right, those like microdosing, and it's okay, that's an option, right? But like when you think of, I feel like this should be a step before you even consider that. Like, let's go into water and tie knots.
Right? And
see if we can do it and see how that makes you feel. Maybe that might like fix you a little bit.
That's the thing, like that adrenaline rush, that adrenaline, like all that stuff. And even, the other thing is, through Second Mission Foundation, which is going to be awesome, we are going to do a sort of shooting competition down at West Point, which is something we're working on. Again, there's early stages. And again, talking to you about it, and you were like, hell yeah, let's do it. I mean, because we went down to West Point, back on the first Airborne for Vets, and we got to teach a class there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dude, that was such a surreal moment for two NCOs to be standing in a room, with cadets and talking to them about suicide prevention and, what 22 Mohawks is and what we're doing and stuff like that. And it really it gave a different perspective to the West Point cadets. And talking to who's now retired, Colonel Charlie Faint, who it was his class he invited us to, and he said, the cadets couldn't stop talking about it, after we left.
Yeah, I got messages from a couple of those guys.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like we never know how we impact people.
Nope.
And that's the cool thing. Like you said, you don't pry, we don't probe. It just naturally comes out. And I think that's the best way for any sort of, let's say, quote unquote therapy sessions. We're not therapists by any means, but versus sitting in an office and having to be like, so how are you feeling today? Like, here we go, versus, shooting guns or jumping out of a plane, going underwater, doing some sort of activity. And then afterwards you're like, damn, all of a sudden you feel what you're feeling and you share it out of nowhere. Because it's just because now you're comfortable, you're back with your tribe, right? With your veterans, your squad. And that's one thing about X-35. What I loved is when they had us in platoon formation. I'm like, God damn, like we're back in platoon formation. You know, I'm like, you know, so it was, I mean, and
Jumpers hit it.
Exactly. And it was just like a lot of good memories. You know, those are the good memories. Like me and you, all of us want to showcase and remind our vets that, we saw some awful shit, but we also did a lot of cool things. You know, if you really think about it.
We did.
You know, a lot of badass things. And, you know, what 18-year-old jumps out of planes these days, you know, other than in the military, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so we've done some really cool things. And I love seeing the growth of 22 Mohawks, and, you know, it's growing, man.
I mean, it's the guys like you and me, we have these great ideas because we know what the veterans need mentally, physically, right? We know how to recreate certain environments for them. But, you know, again, it's like we couldn't do it without the Stacey Coins of the world and the Tara Kaforis of the world and the Kylie Davises. Like, those are the people that come in here every day and take our visions and make them a reality. You know what I mean? So we have to tip our hats.
Oh, absolutely. Like, so you know, it's funny. So every once in a while I'll scroll through Facebook or whatever, which is always a bad thing, but you see some of these Facebook groups, like, you know, shitting on Pogues and whatever, you know, just joking around, whatever. And the reality of it is, like, you know, when you're overseas, if it wasn't for the mechanics, your trucks wouldn't run. For the cooks, you wouldn't be fed. If it wasn't for the armor, your gun would be shit in the bed all the time. You know, so these support elements are what causes guys like us to be able to execute our missions. Because we wouldn't be able to do it if the support wasn't there.
That's right.
You know, and you and I both know, as NCOs and even leading troops and all that, you need your support element big time.
Have to.
And you have to develop your plan based off, are your soldiers fed? Is the equipment running? Did they sleep? Like, you know, there's several things that you want to make sure that is good to go before you send your A team out there to do the job. So support is huge, you know, and especially with this type of endeavor where, you know, you and I will put together this big event, but then there's the background that no one sees.
That's right.
You know, like I said, there's Stacy, Carol, like all the support staff for 22 Mohawks of what they're doing to get that to happen.
100%. So, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. So that's, well, I'm full of analogies today, I think. But before we wrap up, Dave, you know, I always like putting guests on the spot, and I ask them this one question, and usually it's, if you want to give any sort of veteran, law enforcement, firefighter, any sort of advice today that they can take to think about, you know, something for them to think about, something for them to do, what would it be?
I mean, I think one of the most important things that I've learned over the last 4 years is that we all feel boo-boo lipped at times. You know what I mean? But if you're laying in bed and you're feeling boo-boo lipped, you got to get out and you got to be around people. It's all about community. But the best medicine for combating shame and guilt from your experiences that you've had, it's not therapy, it's not a pill, but it's service to others. So if you can get up and go to a soup kitchen and give somebody soup, or come in at 22 Mohawks and hand over a leash to somebody, like, it's going to make you feel better. I promise you.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah. So anybody that lives in the area, man, come visit 22 Mohawks SCIF. Actually, talk about the SCIF. Well, what is the SCIF?
So the SCIF is a sensitive compartmented information facility.
There we go. We love our acronyms. That way it makes it easier for us to do things.
I just thought it sounded cool and it just kind of stuck. So.
Yeah. No, I love it. But Dave, man, hey, thanks for coming on, dude, and updating everybody as in the world of 22 Mohawks and some of the events that you've got coming down the line. I know you guys we have a golf tournament that's coming up.
Yep.
So, I will add the link to the show notes.
Awesome.
If anyone wants to register, donate, everything's done through the website. So please help out my buddy Dave. Let's keep this mission going. Let's keep throwing people out of planes.
Let's do it.
And, other future things that are coming down the line.
Appreciate you, Iman, for having me, man. And I look forward to your amazing ideas moving forward.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right.